Prediction market Kalshi has closed a Series C funding round that brings the company's valuation to $2 billion. That follows a report earlier this week that rival Polymarket is raising capital at a valuation of about $1 billion. Joining us right now is Kalshi's co-founder and CEO, Tarek Mansour. And Tarek, thanks for coming in today. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk through what's happening with this valuation, where the funding's coming from, and why you're getting this higher valuation at this point. What's happening behind the scenes?
Well, so, we raised our Series C, raised $185 million at a $2 billion valuation. It was led by Paradigm, Sequoia, and a few others, some new investors and some old investors doubling in. It's very simple. I think, Cash today is one of the fastest growing companies in America. We 50x our user base in the last year. Our
50
volume,
times user base in the last year.
Our volume has grown around 100x, and the number of markets, just the sort of operation, has scaled 15x just from last October. I think
that's coming off really small numbers from a year ago, though, right?
But now the numbers are big.
Yeah. Okay.
Now the numbers are real. They're really big. Other than kind of putting aside the awareness, in terms of real business and real metrics, our revenue has scaled meaningfully, and the company is doing very, very well on the financial side. I think the sort of trajectory of the company is sort of more set today. The increased funding is kind of going to three things. One, we have built an incredible talent density in New York, in the city. We're looking to expand that. Number two, we're going to new market structures and scaling the number of markets. So we've gone from around 100 markets in October to 1,500 today. And, we're looking to 2 to 3x that till the end of the year. And last is, after having proven the model and the success we've had this year, we've seen incredible influx of broker demand. So brokerages looking to integrate on Kalshi, and we're expanding staff to basically be able to sustain that.
Okay, so let's talk through those 3 points. First of all, the talent that you have come in what area? Are these programmers? Are these people who understand markets? Like who are you bringing in?
Well, that's a great question. A little bit of backstory. So we actually moved from San Francisco to New York around the COVID era. And one of the key insights that worked out really well for us is we always thought the mission of the company, this idea of building the most important financial market on the planet, will resonate better with the city. And so what that has enabled us to do is build this sort of talent pool that is at the cross of Silicon Valley, which is very common for startups, but also Wall Street. So Kalshi is one of those rare, unique startups that are being able to recruit from hedge funds. And so we have this blend of Wall Street and Silicon Valley in the company. And it's engineers, developers, that's a majority of it, people that understand markets and traders, economists, obviously some people in marketing and growth, and product and design and the rest.
If you're recruiting from Wall Street, from some of the hedge funds and things, do you have to pay them a lot? Because we hear these AI programmers are now getting paid $100 million signing bonuses. Or do you give them a chunk of equity and say, hey, we're on a huge growth trajectory and you want to be with us from the beginning?
So, as a startup, we cannot compete with the salaries that some of the hedge funds are paying. So we definitely give equity, and equity is a big piece of the way that we incentivize people to join. It's like, hey, we're building this big thing, and come take a piece of it. But people don't join Kalshi for the fancy investors or the money. They join for the mission, what we're building. Luan and I, when we started the company, we love this market. We love what we're building. We love this idea of building a financial market that can price anything. Like we've seen in the election. We just see it with the mayor race 2 days ago. We're seeing it with the upcoming Democratic election. And people joined for that mission, for building that financial market.
So, Tarek, one of the reasons that we've been so impressed in watching was you were figuring things out before the polls were showing them on the presidential election. With the mayoral election here in New York City, it was a little different. It kind of snuck up on you, too, I think, this idea of Mamdani being the guy who's in the lead.
So a few things. Last fall when I came to the show, it mentioned sort of our market is going to sort of replace the polls. And I've always said, no, they should not replace the polls. And in some ways, the markets get stronger with the polls, and hopefully the polls get stronger from the market. And, markets don't live in a sort of vacuum. Even financial markets, like how do you price this, Apple shares? You have to kind of get information from other places, and that feeds into the marketplace. And in our case, the polls are feeding into the marketplace. So, sort of. There were a lot of polls that were sort of having Cuomo really kind of up by 40 points at some point.
Yeah.
We were never that extreme. We were kind of more in the middle. Leading into the sort of weekend, we started pricing Mamdani up. we started sort of looking at 55, 57% Mamdani. And coming into the week, Mamdani was sort of, in the lead at that point. And there was a lot of volatility. And so the markets did pretty well, actually. I think they did exactly what they did. Is sort of they priced the polls, they priced the new developments in real time.
I mean, you could argue that Wall Street really got caught off guard by Mamdani being as strong of a candidate as he was in New York.
I would say our markets were not really caught off guard. Like our markets were sort of pricing.
I mean, investors in Wall Street.
Yeah, the Wall Street investors. I think that's true. I mean, I think one thing I'll reveal. So we had some interesting data. We were looking at data of who took positions on Cuomo versus Mamdani. Mm-hmm. So women were predominantly majority on Mamdani, whereas 50-50, it was 50-50 for men.
Okay.
Young Mamdani, old Cuomo. And in the boroughs, Cuomo had Manhattan, the core, but everything else was Mamdani.
Wow.
Very heavily. So it was a very interesting election.
Okay, so you have gone from 100 different markets to 1,500 over the last year. Where have you expanded? Where have been maybe some of the more surprising places that you've gotten into? So,
I would say obviously sports is the big one. A lot of people are talking about that. I've entered sports as one of the fastest growing in the industry ever. I think the others are politics as always. So right now we're seeing volume in the primaries for the sort of the Democratic nominee. AOC is in the lead today, slightly leading Gavin.
And we're a ways off. How much confidence do you have that that's going to withstand the test of time over the next?
Well, we're ways off.
Yeah.
So as information happens, I mean, there's a lot that can happen in three years and a half. So, but it's a gauge. This is where we're at today, and this is what the market thinks. And over time,
how much is AOC in the lead?
Slightly, very slight lead over Newsom. It's just kind of between her and Newsom.
But it's basically the two of them.
No Buttigieg yet, huh?
Buttigieg is a little bit lower. He's at half the odds. So I think AOC is around 14%. Newsom's at around 13%, and then Buttigieg is below 10%. The mayor, I mean, Eric Adams has shot up 400% in the last 36 hours.
To what?
So we may see him rise from the ashes.
To what? To what, you think?
He's at 24% now. Oh, it's right there.
God. Please. Trump's going to endorse him. Does he want Trump to endorse him or not want Trump to endorse him? That's the thing.
I don't know. But I mean, I think 24%, as I always say, is 24%. It's not zero. And so in 1 in 4, Eric Adams could do it, and he could pull it off.
That's what Catherine Wild said yesterday. Others, Ackman said that's how he was, and then he said, I haven't yet, and then I don't know whether...
You're going to wonder what Cuomo does, too, because Cuomo would split that vote if he got into it from an independent position on the...
Well, there's one place where you can check all of that, and it's Kalshi.